Around 300 BC, farmers in the Valley of Mexico built small rectangular plots of fertile land on shallow lake beds. They wove together reeds and aquatic plants, anchored them with mud, and created what we now call chinampas, floating gardens that produced multiple harvests per year from the same patch of water. This system fed one of the largest civilizations in the Western Hemisphere for over 1,000 years. Then, between 1519 and 1521, the Spanish conquest of the Aztec Empire began dismantling these practices. Colonial agriculture replaced them with livestock and monoculture crops. The knowledge didn't vanish overnight, but it was pushed to the margins, buried under centuries of industrial farming that now uses roughly 33% of the world's land surface, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in 2021. The system that fed millions from tiny patches of water was effectively forgotten by most of the modern world. This video will show you why this method disappeared and how to bring it back step by step, using nothing more than a backyard pond, a few ducks, fish, and aquatic plants, for a total setup cost between $400 and $600. The reason this matters comes down to one number. Fisheries researchers at Auburn University in Alabama, led by H.S. Swingle, built test ponds as small as 1,000 square feet, roughly the footprint of a two-car garage. They stocked those ponds with native species like channel catfish and bluegill, using fertilization techniques borrowed from ancient polyculture methods. The yields they recorded were up to 350 pounds of fish from just 1,000 square feet of pond. Compare that to cattle ranching. A quarter acre of pasture, which is more than 10 times that space, produces about 200 pounds of beef per year and demands constant feed, water, fencing, and veterinary attention. The pond produced nearly double the protein in a tenth of the area with almost no ongoing inputs. Those studies were published. A handful of permaculture practitioners picked them up. And then the momentum stopped. No government extension programs, no agriculture college curriculum built around it. The industrial meat system in America, valued at $200 billion annually, had no reason to tell you about a backyard pond that could replace your grocery store trips. But the biology doesn't care about economics. It just works. And understanding that biology is the key to making this system run itself. A backyard polyculture pond is not just a hole full of fish. It is a 4-part living machine, and every part feeds another. The first part is the nitrogen cycle, which is the engine underneath everything. Fish produce ammonia as waste. Left alone, ammonia is toxic. But beneficial bacteria, specifically Nitrosomonas and Nitrobacter, colonize every underwater surface, the liner, rocks, plant roots, and they convert that ammonia first into nitrites, then into nitrates. Nitrates are plant food. Plants absorb the nitrates. The water stays clean. The fish stay alive. This conversion process is called biological nitrification. And it is the same chemistry that drives every natural lake, river, and wetland on Earth. Once this cycle establishes in your pond, which takes roughly 2 to 4 weeks, it balances itself. You are not managing chemistry. You are watching biology do what it has done for billions of years. The second part of the system is ducks. In traditional polyculture across Asia and Mesoamerica, waterfowl were never optional. They were the biological managers of the entire operation. When ducks swim, they stir bottom sediments, releasing trapped nutrients into the water column. When they defecate, and they do this constantly, they add nitrogen directly into the ecosystem. That nitrogen feeds algae. The algae feeds zooplankton. The zooplankton feeds small fish. The small fish feed larger fish. And the ducks eat insects, aquatic plants, and the occasional small fish in return. Every action feeds something else. A small flock of 3 to 5 khaki Campbell ducks, one of the most productive egg-laying breeds, produces between 280 and 340 eggs per duck per year. That means even 3 ducks give you 840 eggs annually. Research shows that ducks with access to a pond ecosystem can forage up to 30% of their nutritional needs from insects, aquatic plants, and small organisms. That cuts your feed bill by nearly 1/3 before you even start counting the eggs or the fertilization service they provide for free. The third part is aquatic plants, and this is where most people underestimate the system. Plants are not decoration. They are the kidneys and lungs of the pond. Cattails are one of the most efficient biological filters found in nature. Their root systems pull excess nitrogen and phosphorus out of the water, preventing toxic algae blooms and keeping oxygen levels stable. Research into aquaponics systems, which are essentially controlled polyculture environments, has shown that plants can remove up to 90% of the nitrogen waste produced by fish. 90%. A ring of cattails planted on the shallow shelves of your pond will outperform any mechanical filter you could buy at a hardware store. Water lilies reduce water temperature by providing shade, which slows evaporation in summer. Submerged plants like hornwort and anacharis release oxygen during daylight hours, which fish need to breathe. Floating plants like duckweed are especially useful. Under good conditions, duckweed doubles its biomass in less than 48 hours. Ducks eat it as fast as it grows, creating a self-renewing food loop that costs you nothing. The fourth part is the fish themselves. For most of the United States, 3 species make the most sense. Bluegill are the easiest. Stock them once and they reproduce on their own, creating a self-replenishing population. They reach harvestable size about 6 to 8 inches in roughly 2 years. Channel catfish grow faster, hitting 1 to 2 pounds within 18 months in a well-managed pond. Tilapia are the fastest of all, reaching 1 pound in just 5 to 6 months under good conditions. 50 tilapia fingerlings in a small pond can yield 40 to 50 pounds of harvestable fish within a single growing season. But tilapia are classified as invasive in some states and are illegal to stock without permits. Always check your state's fish and wildlife regulations before purchasing. Now, how do you actually build this? The FAO has noted that sustainable agricultural practices can increase yields by 79% for smallholder farmers. And this pond is the backyard version of that principle. Here's what it costs and what you need. Total budget runs between $400 and $600. That breaks down to roughly $150 to $300 for an EPDM rubber pond liner, which lasts 20 to 30 years. $20 to $50 for fingerlings, $30 to $60 for ducklings, and $50 to $100 for plants, edging materials, and minor supplies like a pond thermometer. Choose the lowest point on your property where water naturally collects after rain. You want a spot that gets at least 6 hours of sunlight daily, but not baking full sun all day, which overheats the water and stresses fish. Mark out a space roughly 10 feet by 15 feet. Dig to a depth of 4 to 5 feet at the center. Create a shallow shelf about 1 foot deep and 2 to 3 feet wide around the perimeter. This is your marsh zone where cattails and irises will root. The deeper center is where fish will take refuge during temperature extremes in summer and winter. If you have heavy clay soil, you can seal the pond the old-fashioned way, packing 6 inches of wet clay, compacting it by walking on it, and letting it cure. This method has worked for thousands of years across China, Mexico, and Southeast Asia. If your soil is sandy or rocky, lay the EPDM liner. At about $1 to $2 per square foot, it is the most reliable modern option. Fill the pond? If you are using chlorinated municipal water, let it sit for 1 full week so chlorine evaporates. Well water or collected rainwater can be used immediately. The stocking order matters, and getting it wrong is the most common mistake people make. Plants go in first. Set cattails and irises on the shallow shelves. Drop submerged plants like hornwort into the deeper sections. Float duckweed and water lettuce on the surface. Then wait 2 to 4 weeks. The plants need time to root, and beneficial bacteria need time to colonize the pond surfaces. This waiting period is when the nitrogen cycle establishes itself. After about a month, add your ducks. 2 to 5 birds are ideal for a pond this size. They will take to the water immediately, and within days you will notice the pond change. The water may cloud slightly as ducks stir up bottom sediment. This is normal. This is the system waking up and cycling nutrients. After another month of duck activity, introduce your fish. Stock about 50 fingerlings per 1,000 gallons of water. They will disappear into the depths and you may not see them for weeks. Do not add more. They are there, they are eating, and they are growing. Winter management is simpler than most people expect. In cold climates, fish slow their metabolism and settle to the bottom of the pond where water stays just above freezing. The deep center you dug, 4 to 5 feet, is their winter refuge. A small floating pond de-icer, which costs about $30 to $50, keeps a hole open in the ice so that toxic gases can escape and oxygen can enter. Ducks are cold-hardy and will continue using the pond through winter as long as part of the surface remains open. You do not need to heat the entire pond. You just need to prevent a complete seal. The FAO has documented what ancient civilizations already knew. The Chinampa system in the Valley of Mexico allowed year-round cultivation from small water-based plots, producing multiple harvests per season from the same space. Modern researchers studying these methods agree that these closed-loop systems represent some of the most efficient food production ever designed. Proponents argue that returning to these practices could address biodiversity loss and climate pressure on agriculture. Critics point out that scaling ancient systems to feed modern urban populations of millions presents real logistical challenges. Both positions have merit, but neither changes the fact that for a single family, a 10 by 15-foot pond in the backyard can produce hundreds of pounds of protein per year, indefinitely, for a one-time cost that is less than 2 months of grocery store meat. There is a growing movement in regenerative agriculture today, partly inspired by these ancient systems. Researchers continue studying how Chinampa-style practices can inform modern sustainability efforts. But much of that traditional knowledge has been lost or poorly preserved. The people rebuilding it now are doing so one backyard at a time, stocking ponds, raising ducks, planting cattails, and proving that a system banned by empires and buried by industry still works exactly the way it always did. Check your local zoning laws before you start digging. Most residential areas allow backyard ponds under a certain size without permits, but regulations vary by county and municipality. Some homeowner associations restrict livestock, including ducks. Some states regulate which fish species you can stock. 15 minutes of research at your county planning office can save you months of problems. The pond does not care about regulations or economics or supply chains. It only knows biology. And biology, given the right conditions, feeds itself.